My name is Sarah, and this is your easy English listening practice. Today, we're going to learn through a slow, friendly story about daily life, and I will guide you step by step like a real friend sitting beside you. So take a deep breath, relax your shoulders, and let your ears enjoy the sound of simple English. You don't need to remember everything. You don't need to understand every single word. You just need to listen, feel comfortable, and let the language enter your ears gently. Today's practice is a special one because it is not only about English. It is also about confidence, daily habits, and small moments that can change your whole learning journey. Many people ask me, Sarah, how do I speak English better? How do I understand English faster? And I always say the same thing. You become better step by step, not in one day. And today's story will help you feel this in your heart. So if you sometimes feel slow, if you sometimes feel shy, if you sometimes think, my English is not enough, then today's listening practice is for you. Stay with me, and I promise you, by the end of this long listening journey, you will feel more confident, more calm, and more ready to speak English in real life. Before we begin our story, I want to tell you something important. You are not alone. Every person who learns English has moments of doubt. Even I, when I learned a new language, felt the same. I was confused. I was nervous. I was shy to speak. I made mistakes. I used the wrong words. I forgot words. I felt embarrassed. And guess what? It was normal. So today's story will show you that you can grow slowly, day by day, and you don't need to rush. This is why our channel makes slow, friendly listening lessons, because English grows inside you like a small seed. It starts tiny, but with practice, it becomes a strong tree. So now, let's begin the story for today's listening practice. I will tell you a simple story about my friend Anna. She is someone who, like many of you, wants to speak English confidently. She wants to understand movies, talk to people, and enjoy English without fear. But just like you, she sometimes feels stuck. Last year, she started learning English again after many months. She told me, Sarah, this time, I will not give up. I will try my best. And from that moment, her journey began. One bright Monday morning, Anna woke up with a strong feeling. She felt excited, but also a little nervous. She sat on the edge of her bed, looked outside her window, and said softly to herself, Today is the day. Today I start again. She had tried learning English many times before. Sometimes she learned for a few weeks, sometimes for a few days, but then she became busy, tired, or unmotivated. But that day, something felt different. She didn't feel pressure. She didn't feel scared. She just felt ready to take one small step. She walked to her kitchen, made a warm cup of tea, and turned on her phone. She opened our English learning channel, and the first thing she heard was a simple greeting. Hi friends. Welcome back to our English learning channel. I'm Sarah, and today we have a fun and easy English listening practice. Anna smiled. She said, Okay, Sarah, you'll help me today. And she pressed play. The lesson she listened to that morning was very simple. It was about daily routines. But there was one part she remembered clearly. I had said in the video, Don't worry if you don't understand everything. Just listen. Let your mind relax. That line stayed with her. She realized something important. She didn't need to be perfect. She just needed to keep going. After finishing the video, Anna put her cup down and whispered, "I can do this." She felt a small spark inside. Not a fire, not a big excitement, but a small spark of belief. And sometimes, my friend, that small spark is enough to start a long journey. Later that morning, Anna decided to practice again. She opened her notebook, wrote the date, and wrote one small sentence. "Today I listened for 10 minutes. She didn't write long goals. She didn't write big plans. She just wrote one simple line that made her feel proud because she knew she completed something. And this is something I want you to remember too. You don't need big goals to learn English. Small goals are powerful. Listen for 10 minutes. Practice one new word. Repeat one sentence. These small steps make you strong without pressure." Anna continued her day. She cleaned her room, made lunch, and went for a short walk outside. While walking, she heard children laughing, birds singing, cars passing. She looked around and suddenly thought, "I want to understand the world in English too. I want to travel, meet people, talk to them." This dream made her walk a little faster, like she wanted to reach her future sooner. In the evening, she called her cousin, who lives in another country and speaks English very well. "I started learning again," Anna said. Her cousin laughed happily and said, "Good. I knew you would come back." Learning English is like a friendship. You can always return to it, and it will welcome you. Anna felt shy, but also happy. Her cousin told her, "The secret is to enjoy it. If you enjoy listening, you will learn without feeling tired." After the call, Anna decided to do something brave. She opened an English book that she bought many months ago. She had not touched it since. It was simple, with short stories and pictures. She opened the first page and began reading slowly. She did not understand everything, but she understood enough to feel hopeful. Every time she found a new word, she stopped, read it again, and tried to say it out loud. She even laughed at herself once when she said a word wrong. She said, "It's okay. I will try again." That night, before sleeping, Anna thought about one sentence from the video she listened to. English grows slowly, like a seed. She imagined a small seed growing into a plant, and she felt peaceful. She didn't worry about speaking fast. She didn't worry about grammar. She didn't worry about mistakes. She just thought about that seed. And she slept with a smile. The next morning, she woke up early again. She felt motivated. She played another English listening video. This time, she listened more calmly. She didn't pause too much. She didn't repeat too much. She just let the words flow like gentle water. And she realized something special. English felt a little easier today than yesterday. And that is the magic of daily listening. When you listen today, you become better tomorrow. Your ears become stronger without you even noticing. Your brain starts to understand sounds, patterns, and rhythm. And slowly, you begin to feel comfortable in English. The next morning felt a little different for Anna. When she opened her eyes, she didn't feel sleepy or slow. She felt calm and ready, like her mind had already decided it wanted to learn something new today. She stretched her arms, sat up slowly, and looked out the window. The sky was soft and light, the kind of morning that makes you feel peaceful inside. She whispered to herself, "Day 2. Let's see what happens today." She went to her kitchen again and made the same warm cup of tea. The smell filled the room, and it felt like a small routine, a new habit she was building. She opened her phone and searched for another English listening video. She found one called English for a Calm Morning, and she smiled because she needed exactly that. She pressed play, and the soft voice began to speak. While listening, she noticed something interesting. Yesterday, she felt nervous while listening. She paused many times. She repeated sentences too often. But today, she listened more easily. Her mind was not fighting the words. The English felt smoother, like a gentle wave. She didn't catch every word, but she didn't feel scared. That small change made her proud. After 10 minutes, she closed her eyes and repeated one sentence from the video. I am learning every day. I am growing slowly. She repeated it again, slower. I am learning every day. She felt the words sink into her heart. She opened her eyes and wrote the sentence in her notebook, under yesterday's small note. She wrote, Today I listened again. 2 short lines, but they meant something important. Later that morning, Anna had to go outside because she needed to buy some groceries. She walked to the small supermarket near her home. The air was cool, and people were walking quickly, each with their own morning tasks. As she walked, she thought about English again. She wondered, can I understand English outside my home? Can I practice it here? Suddenly, she remembered a tip she once heard. Try to think in English when you walk. So she tried it. She walked past a tree and said in her mind, This is a tree. She passed a car and said, The car is red. She saw an old woman carrying a bag and thought, She looks tired. They were simple sentences, but they made her feel like English was becoming part of her normal life. She wasn't just learning English. She was living with English. Inside the supermarket, she took a small basket and walked slowly through the aisles. She looked at the items, and every time she picked something up, she whispered its name in English. Milk, she said softly. She picked up bread and whispered, Bread. She touched a packet of rice and said, Rice. She felt a little funny talking to herself like that, but she also felt brave. No one else knew what she was doing, but she knew she was practicing. While walking, she suddenly heard something unexpected. A young boy and his mother were speaking English. They were tourists. The boy said, Mom, can we buy this one? And the mother replied, Not today. Maybe later. The words were simple, but hearing English in real life surprised her. She turned slowly, trying not to stare, but listening carefully. The boy spoke quickly, like many children do, and Anna tried to catch all the words. She didn't understand everything, but she understood enough. And that made her heart beat a little faster. She thought, Wow, real English right in front of me. She followed them with her ears, not her eyes. She listened to how they spoke, how their words sounded, how natural the rhythm was. It felt different from the videos she watched. It felt alive, real, spontaneous. And for the first time, she saw English not as something far away, but as something right in front of her. After buying her items, Anna walked out of the supermarket, feeling happy and a little proud. She kept thinking about that small conversation she heard. It was nothing special, just a child asking for something, but to her it was a moment of growth. She said softly, One day, I will understand everything like that. One day, I will speak easily too. She walked home with a small smile. She placed her groceries on the kitchen table, sat down, and opened her notebook. She wanted to write about the moment she heard English in the supermarket. She wrote, "Today I heard real English. It was fast, but I understood a little." She underlined the word little because that little part made her hopeful. After lunch, Anna decided to take another step in her English learning. She wanted to listen to real conversations, not just slow ones. So she opened a podcast for beginners. The speakers talked slowly, but not too slowly. They sounded friendly and natural. The topic was simple: two friends talking about their hobbies. She listened carefully. She paused sometimes, but she didn't repeat every sentence like before. She let the conversation play. She imagined the two friends sitting at a cafe, talking. One said she liked painting. The other said she liked cooking. They laughed. They sounded relaxed. Anna thought, "I want to speak like that one day." After the podcast, Anna tried something new. She shadowed the speakers. Shadowing means repeating the words right after hearing them, like an echo. She listened to one sentence. "I like painting because it makes me calm." Then she repeated, "I like painting because it makes me calm." She felt a little shy doing it, but she also felt like she was becoming active, not just a listener. She shadowed 5 sentences. She didn't try to be perfect. She just tried to follow the rhythm. And after a few tries, she felt her mouth moving more easily. She said softly, "Wow, this works." In the afternoon, Anna decided to go for another walk. She wanted fresh air, and she also wanted to think in English again. As she walked, she described everything around her in simple English. She looked at the sky and said, "The sky is blue." She looked at a dog and said, "The dog is running." She saw 2 friends laughing and said, "They are happy." She felt like a child learning to speak again, and she actually enjoyed it. While walking, she noticed a small cafe she had never entered before. It had soft music playing and big windows. She stood outside for a moment and felt nervous. She thought, "Should I go in? Should I try to order something in English?" Her heart beat a little faster. It was a scary thought, but also exciting. She wanted to challenge herself, even just a little. She took a deep breath and opened the door. The cafe was quiet and warm. A young man stood behind the counter. He looked friendly. Anna walked slowly toward him, trying to think of simple English words in her mind. Before she could speak, the man smiled and said, "Hello. How can I help you?" Anna froze for a second. Her mind went blank. She felt nervous again, like yesterday. But then she remembered her morning practice. She remembered the slow sentences from the video. She remembered the small voice inside her saying, "You are learning every day." So she smiled and said slowly, "Hello, can I have a small coffee, please?" Her voice shook a little, but the sentence came out clearly. The man nodded and said, "Sure, 1 small coffee." He prepared the cup while Anna stood there, feeling proud of her simple sentence. When he handed her the coffee, he said, "Here you go." She replied, "Thank you." And for her, that small conversation felt like climbing a small mountain. She sat near the window, holding her warm coffee. She looked outside and felt peaceful. She whispered to herself, "See? I can do it. I can speak a little." The coffee tasted sweeter because of her success. While sitting there, she opened her notebook again. She wrote, Today I spoke English at the cafe. She added a small smiley face next to it because it made her happy. She didn't need a long conversation. She didn't need perfect grammar. She just needed one brave moment. After finishing her coffee, she walked home slowly, feeling a soft pride inside her. She realized English was not something she had to run from. It was something she could walk with step by step. She didn't need to be fast. She just needed to keep going. When she reached home, she played another English video. This time, she listened without writing, without repeating, without pausing. She just listened, and she felt comfortable. She felt relaxed. She felt like she was not studying. She was just enjoying English like music. In the evening, she made dinner and played English in the background. She did not understand everything, but she liked the sound of the language. It made her kitchen feel brighter, warmer. And this is something I want you to feel too. English is not just a subject. It can be your friend, your companion, your background music in daily life. Before sleep, Anna read her notes again. 3 small lines. But each line told a story of progress. She whispered, "I did well today." She put her notebook on the table and turned off the lights. As she lay down, she thought about her next small step. Maybe tomorrow she would try speaking a little more. Maybe tomorrow she would listen a little longer. Maybe tomorrow she would learn a new word. And slowly, with a calm smile, she fell asleep. The next day began quietly for Anna. When she woke up, she felt a soft excitement inside her, the same feeling you have when something good is slowly happening in your life. She stretched, sat up in her bed, and took a moment to breathe slowly. She remembered her small victory at the cafe yesterday, and the memory made her smile. She whispered to herself, "I did it. I really did it." And that one thought gave her gentle energy for the new day. The morning sun came through her window, falling on her notebook on the table. The notebook looked simple from far away, but to Anna, it was becoming something very special. Every day, she wrote small moments inside it. Not long stories, not long lessons, just small pieces of her learning journey. She walked to the notebook and opened it. 3 short lines looked up at her from yesterday and the day before. She touched the page softly and said, "These small things, they matter." She made her warm tea again and sat at the same chair, just like the last 2 mornings. Routine was slowly giving her comfort. She pressed play on another English video. The voice in the video said, "Good morning, friends. Today, let's practice calm English together." And Anna relaxed instantly, like her mind trusted the voice. The video talked about simple things, about waking up, about breakfast, about being kind to yourself. She listened carefully and whispered a few words as she listened. Quiet morning, kind practice. She didn't force herself. She just let the words enter her ears naturally. After the video ended, she repeated one sentence softly. "I am learning step by step." She placed her hand on her chest and said it again, slower. "I am learning step by step." And she believed it. Later that morning, Anna decided to clean her room. She wanted a fresh space for her mind. She opened the windows and let the cool air enter. As she cleaned, she played English audio in the background. She did not understand everything, but she let the sound fill the room. She dusted the shelves, washed a few dishes, folded her clothes. As she worked, She tried to describe her actions in English. She whispered, I am folding clothes. I am cleaning the table. I am opening the window. These sentences were simple, but they made her feel active in English. She wasn't only listening now, she was using the language. Around noon, something unexpected happened. Anna received a message on her phone from her cousin, the same cousin she had spoken to 2 days ago. The message said, Hey Anna, I'm free today. Do you want a video call and practice English together? Anna froze for a moment. Her heart began beating fast. A video call? In English? Right now? She wasn't ready. She felt nervous. She felt her hands shake a little. She sat down slowly. She looked at her phone. She looked at the message again. She didn't know what to reply. Her mind filled with questions. What if I say something wrong? What if I forget words? What if I sound silly? She took a deep breath and placed the phone on the table. She stood up and walked around her room. She felt like she was going back to the beginning again. All her confidence from yesterday suddenly felt small. She whispered to herself, I don't know if I can do it. But then she remembered something from yesterday. She remembered the child and his mother in the supermarket speaking English. She remembered how she understood a little. She remembered the coffee she ordered at the cafe. She remembered her notebook with the small sentences. And slowly, her fear softened. She whispered, I can try. She sent a message back. Okay, we can call. Her cousin replied almost immediately. Great. I'll call you in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. Anna felt her legs go weak. She went to wash her face. She looked into the mirror. She practiced one simple sentence loudly. Hi, how are you? She said it again slower. Then she practiced, I am fine. Thank you. And then she practiced a third sentence. Sorry, my English is not perfect. She smiled nervously at her reflection. Her phone rang. She closed her eyes for 2 seconds and answered the call. Her cousin appeared on the screen with a big smile. Hi, Anna, she said warmly. Anna smiled back and said, Hi, how are you? Her cousin laughed softly and said, I'm good. And you? Anna replied, I am fine, thank you. Her cousin said, Good. Okay, let's speak in English today. For the first few minutes, Anna felt very shy. Her voice was soft. Her sentences were short. Her mind felt busy. But her cousin spoke slowly. She spoke clearly. She asked simple questions. What did you do this morning? Did you listen to English today? Did you cook anything? And Anna answered slowly. Not perfectly, but clearly enough. Her cousin nodded and smiled after every answer, which made Anna feel safe. At one moment, Anna forgot a word. She tried to explain something simple about her breakfast, but she didn't know the English word for it. She laughed nervously and said, I don't know the word, her cousin said. It's okay. Tell me in your language. Anna said it quickly, and her cousin replied, yes, the English word is oatmeal. Anna repeated, oatmeal, oatmeal. She felt happy learning a new word during the call. The call continued for about 15 minutes. They talked about simple things: food, the weather, daily routines. Anna made a few mistakes. She mixed past and present tense. She used wrong articles. She paused often. But she did not stop. She kept going. And her cousin was patient and kind, always encouraging her. At the end of the call, her cousin said, "Anna, you did great. I'm proud of you." Anna felt her eyes become warm. She smiled widely and said, "Thank you.
I
I tried." When the call ended, Anna leaned back in her chair and took a deep breath. Her heart was still beating fast, but she felt proud, very proud. She whispered to herself, "I did it. I really spoke English today." She opened her notebook immediately and wrote, "Today I spoke English for 15 minutes. I made mistakes, but I spoke." She underlined the last two words. Later in the afternoon, Anna decided to rest a little. She sat on her couch, feeling tired but happy. She played soft English music and closed her eyes. She thought about the call again. She thought about her nervous feelings. And she thought about how she pushed through them. She realized something important. Growth happens when you feel afraid, but still try. After resting, she felt like practicing again. She opened a beginner English story online. It was about a girl who travels to a new city. The sentences were simple, but they were enough to help her practice. She read the story slowly. She even read some sentences out loud. She focused on the rhythm of the words. She imagined the scenes in her mind. And she felt peaceful again. In the evening, Anna went for a slow walk. The sky was orange and the air felt cool. She walked quietly and thought about her journey so far. 3 days. Just 3 days. But she felt like she had changed already. She felt more connected to English, more open, more brave. She practiced simple English sentences in her mind again. I am walking. The evening is beautiful. I feel proud today. These small sentences made her feel strong. As she walked, she saw a group of teenagers laughing together on a bench. One of them was playing an English song loudly on his phone. She listened to the lyrics. They were fast, but she caught one word. Smile. She smiled too. English was slowly appearing everywhere around her. It didn't feel far anymore. It felt closer. It felt like a friend walking beside her. When she reached home, she made dinner and played another English podcast in the background. She didn't force herself to understand everything. She just listened. The sound of English made her home feel warm and alive. After dinner, she practiced shadowing for 5 minutes again. She listened to one sentence from the podcast. It's important to take small steps. And she repeated it. It's important to take small steps. She repeated it again, slower. It's important to take small steps. She felt the sentence become part of her. Before going to bed, Anna sat down with her notebook again. She wrote one last line for the day. Today was difficult, but I did something brave. She closed the notebook and held it against her chest for a moment. Then she looked out her window at the quiet night sky. She whispered softly, "Thank you for today." She lay down slowly, feeling peaceful, and closed her eyes. Her thoughts were gentle. Her breathing was slow. And before she fell asleep, she smiled because she knew one thing clearly. Tomorrow, she would continue. Not perfectly, not quickly, but with courage. When I woke up the next morning, the first thing I felt was a soft light on my face. The sun was coming through my window, warm and gentle. I sat up slowly and took a deep breath. Today felt different. Today felt like a fresh start. I stretched my arms and smiled. I said to myself, "Okay, Sarah, today you will listen more, speak more, and learn more, one step at a time." I walked to the kitchen and made a warm cup of tea. While holding the cup, I suddenly thought about yesterday's moment with Emily on the bus. Her voice was still in my mind. Her questions were still in my mind. Her smile was still in my mind. And I realized something very important. English learning is not only about books, classes, or tests. It is also about people. English is a bridge. English is a connection. English is how we understand each other. And that thought made me feel very excited for the day. As I sipped my tea slowly, I turned on a short English podcast. The speaker was talking very clearly. He was explaining small daily routines like waking up, brushing teeth, cooking breakfast, and preparing for the day. I listened carefully. I didn't try to understand every single word. I didn't stress. I didn't panic. I just listened. And because I relaxed, the English felt easier. I said the words softly after him. Wake up, brush teeth, get dressed, prepare breakfast. It felt nice. It felt natural. It felt like I was training my ears gently. And friends, sometimes gentle learning is the strongest learning. After finishing my tea, I took my bag and walked out of the house. The air outside was fresh. People were walking, cars were moving, birds were singing. Everything felt alive. And I told myself, Sarah, today you will listen to English in real life. Today you will practice listening in simple ways. I put one earphone in my ear and started walking toward a small cafe near my street. I could hear small English phrases in the background of the podcast. I repeated some of them quietly. Good morning, nice to meet you, excuse me. I felt good. I felt like English was slowly becoming part of my day. When I entered the cafe, the smell of warm bread and coffee filled the air. The cafe was small, cozy, and bright. A young man behind the counter smiled and said, Good morning. What can I get for you? His voice was friendly and soft. But for a second I froze. My mind went blank again. I knew these words. I had heard them many times. But in real life, in real time, it felt different. I took a small breath and said gently, Good morning. 1 tea, please. The man nodded and said, Sure. Would you like anything to eat? I understood the question, but I wasn't ready for more talking. So I smiled and said, No, thank you. Then I sat at a small table near the window. I put my hands on the table and breathed in slowly. My heart was beating a little fast, but this time I was not embarrassed. I was proud. Yes, my sentence was short. Yes, I did not speak much, but I spoke. I understood his question. I answered clearly. That small success made me feel strong inside. And friends, this is what I want you to remember too. Small success is still success. Small steps still take you forward. As I sat there, I watched the people in the cafe. Some were reading. Some were typing. Some were talking in English with soft voices. I listened to them, not to understand every word, but to feel the rhythm of real English. One woman said, Could you pass me the sugar, please? Another man said, I'll be there in 10 minutes. Someone near the window laughed softly and said, That's so funny. These small sentences helped me understand something important. Real English is simple. Real English is short. Real English is natural. You don't need big words. You don't need complicated grammar. Daily English is simple English. When the man brought my tea, he smiled again and said, "Here you go. Enjoy." I practiced listening. I repeated it quietly. "Here you go. Enjoy." It felt nice. It felt like real-world learning. And while I was enjoying my tea, I opened my notebook and wrote a few simple goals for myself. I wrote, "Listen more today. Repeat words slowly. Do not worry about mistakes. Be kind to yourself." These small reminders felt like gentle friends guiding me. After finishing my tea, I stepped out of the cafe and continued walking. The street noises mixed with the sounds of my podcast. I paused the podcast for a moment and listened to real life around me. I heard children laughing. I heard someone talking on the phone. I heard a shopkeeper say, "Thank you. Have a good day." And I repeated that sentence softly. Have a good day. It was simple. It was clear. And it made me smile. Then I thought about something my English teacher once told me many years ago. She said, "English is not only in books. English is everywhere. If you listen, you'll find it." And today I finally understood what she meant. English is in the cafe, in the street, in the bus, in the small moments of life. And if we open our ears, we learn without stress. As I reached the end of the street, I looked around and felt a small excitement in my heart. I asked myself a question softly. What new English moment will happen next? And that question filled me with hope. Because learning English is not just studying, it is discovering. And every discovery starts with listening. After walking for a while, I reached the small park near my neighborhood. This park was one of my favorite places because it always felt calm and peaceful. Children were playing, an older couple was walking slowly together, and a few people were sitting on benches enjoying the sunshine. I chose a bench under a tall tree where the shade was cool and soft. I sat down, closed my eyes for a moment, and let the sounds of the world flow around me. I heard the wind moving through the leaves, the laughter of kids, and the soft footsteps of people walking on the path. And then I heard something that made me smile, a group of tourists speaking English. They were standing not far from me, holding a map and trying to figure out which direction to walk. One man pointed to the left and said, "I think we should go this way." Another person replied, "No, the map says the museum is to the right, look here." Their English was clear but not too fast. I listened closely. The simple phrases were easy to follow. I heard things like, "Let's check again," "Are you sure?" and "Maybe we should ask someone." These small, everyday sentences were exactly the kind of English I wanted to get used to. I opened my eyes and watched them for a moment. I didn't want to stare, so I looked away and pretended to check my phone, but I listened. And suddenly, one of the tourists walked toward me with a friendly smile. He said, "Excuse me, could you help us?" My heart jumped again. Why does my heart always react like that? Why does English in real life feel so big and sudden? But I reminded myself, breathe, stay calm, answer slowly. So I smiled back and said softly, "Yes, how can I help?" He showed me the map and asked, "Do you know where the History Museum is?" I looked at the map. I knew the place. I pointed and said, "Yes, go straight, then turn right." He repeated after me, "Go straight, then turn right?" I nodded. He smiled brightly and said, "Thank you so much." and the group walked away. The moment they left, I felt a warm wave inside me, like a soft light. I did it again. I used English. I understood the question. I answered clearly. It was just one small moment, but small moments build confidence. I whispered to myself, "Good job, Sarah." And I want you to say that to yourself too, my friend, whenever you use English in any small way. Even if it's just one sentence, even if it's just 2 words. Small steps still move you forward. After that, I took out my notebook and wrote down a few phrases the tourists had used. I wrote, "Excuse me, could you help us? Are you sure? Let's check again." I repeated them slowly 3 times each. My voice was quiet, but my confidence was growing. This is how you build listening and speaking skills. Small phrases, repeated often in real-life situations. I stayed in the park for a little longer. I watched a young boy feeding birds. I listened to a woman speaking on her phone. She said, "I'll meet you there," and I repeated it quietly. Then she said, "Don't worry, I'm coming soon," and I repeated that too. It felt like the world was giving me free English practice. After a while, I decided to walk to the community library. The library was only 10 minutes away from the park. As I walked, I felt calm and proud. The sun was warm, and the streets were peaceful. I took slow steps and noticed the little things, like a dog sleeping beside a shop door, a man painting a sign, and a little girl holding her mother's hand. And through all these small moments, my ears stayed open. I could hear English words here and there from people walking by. When I reached the library, the cool air inside welcomed me. The place was quiet, soft, gentle. I loved libraries. They always made me feel safe, like the world was slowing down. I walked to the English learning section and found a shelf with simple storybooks. I picked up one with a blue cover. The title was Small Steps Every Day. It made me smile because that was exactly how I wanted to learn English, slowly, calmly, step by step. I sat at a table near the window and opened the book. The first page had very simple sentences. I read them softly. Anna wakes up. She opens her window. She smiles at the sun. The words felt easy, warm, friendly. I read the page again, then again. Every time I read it, I noticed new sounds and rhythms. This is the magic of simple English. The more you repeat, the more natural it becomes. After reading a few pages, I closed the book and looked around. A young girl was sitting at the next table with headphones on. She was listening to something, maybe English, maybe music. She looked focused. For a moment, I thought about how many people are learning something every day. How many people are trying to grow, trying to improve, trying to become better versions of themselves. That thought made me feel connected, not alone. Learning English can feel lonely sometimes, but actually, millions of people all over the world are learning with you. Before leaving the library, I borrowed the blue book. The librarian smiled and said, "Enjoy your reading." I repeated softly after walking away, "Enjoy your reading." It felt like another little practice moment. As I stepped outside again, I felt fresh, hopeful, and ready for the rest of the day. I whispered something to myself that I want you to remember too. Every moment is a chance to listen. Every moment is a chance to learn. Nothing is too small. I walked home slowly, thinking about the people I met today, the English I heard, and the small successes I had. And in my heart, I knew something very important. learning English is not a race. Learning English is a journey. And every journey begins with simple, calm listening. When I reached home, the sky had started to change color. It was still bright, but the soft golden light of the late afternoon was spreading across the buildings and the trees. I felt tired, but it was a good kind of tired, the kind you feel when you have learned something, practiced something, and lived the day with purpose. I put my bag on the table, made myself a glass of cool water, and sat on the sofa. For a moment, I just sat there and breathed slowly. Then I looked at the blue library book in my hand and smiled. I opened the book again and read a few pages. The simple sentences felt comforting. They felt like a friend speaking to me. After reading for a bit, I closed the book and thought about my day. I thought about the cafe, the tourists in the park, the library, and the small English moments that came naturally. I realized something very important. English is not a big mountain to climb. It is a collection of small stones. And if you pick up one small stone every day, you will eventually build a strong path. While I was thinking, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Emily, the same woman I met on the bus yesterday. She wrote, "Hi Sarah, are you free this evening? I'm planning to go to a small English conversation meetup. Would you like to come?" When I read her message, my heart made a funny jump again. A meetup? A place where people talk in English? A place where I would actually have to speak? Suddenly I felt nervous and excited at the same time.
Part of me wanted to say no.
Part of me wanted to hide. But the other part, the stronger part, knew that this was a wonderful chance. I typed slowly, "Yes, I would like to come." Then I hit send. Right after sending it, I stared at the screen for a few seconds, thinking, what did I just do? But then I smiled. Sometimes you need to say yes before you are ready. Sometimes courage comes after action. The meetup was at 6:30 p.m., so I had 1 hour to prepare. I stood up, washed my face, combed my hair, and chose a simple, comfortable outfit. I looked in the mirror and whispered to myself, "You can do this. You just need to listen. You don't have to speak perfectly. You just have to show up."
And you know what?
Just showing up is already a big win. At 6:20 p.m., I stepped outside and began walking to the community center where the meetup was happening. The sky was slowly turning orange and pink. People were walking in different directions, shops were closing, and a gentle evening breeze was moving through the street. I held my phone in my hand and checked the map. The location was only 8 minutes away. When I arrived, I saw a small sign outside the building that said, "English Conversation Club, all levels welcome." I took a deep breath, opened the door, and stepped inside. The room was warm and friendly. There were about 15 people sitting in a circle. The group looked mixed, some young, some older, some confident, some shy. And right away, I saw Emily waving at me. "Sarah, you made it," she said happily. I walked toward her and felt a little more relaxed. She introduced me to a few people. One tall man said, "Hi, I'm Daniel." Another woman said, "Nice to meet you, I'm Aisha." Their voices were soft and welcoming. I repeated their names slowly in my mind to remember them. The meeting started with a short warm-up. The group leader, a cheerful woman named Lisa, said, "Let's begin with a simple question. What made you smile today?" She spoke slowly, clearly, kindly. I liked her right away. She asked each person in the circle to answer the question. My heart started beating faster again because I knew my turn was coming. The first person said, I smiled when I saw my cat sleeping in a funny position. Everyone laughed softly. The next person said, I smiled when I drank my favorite iced coffee. Then another person said, I smiled when my friend sent me a silly message. Everyone's answers were simple, friendly, natural, and slowly my fear started to melt a little. When it was my turn, I took a tiny breath and said, I smiled when I helped some tourists in the park. My voice shook a little, but I said it. Lisa smiled warmly and replied, That's lovely. Helping people always feels good. And I felt relieved. Nobody judged me. Nobody laughed at me. Everyone was kind. After the warm-up, we split into small groups of 4. In my group was Emily, a man named Alex, and a woman named Miriam. Our task was to talk about daily routines and simple habits. Emily asked, Sarah, what do you usually do in the morning? I answered slowly. I wake up, make tea, and listen to a short English podcast. Alex said, That's a great habit, and Miriam nodded. Then I listened to their routines. Emily said she goes for a quick walk every morning. Alex drinks a big glass of water right after waking up. Miriam likes to start her day by writing in her journal. Their voices were different, their accents were different, but all of it was English, real English, and it felt beautiful to listen to. As the group continued talking, something amazing happened. Without planning, without forcing, I started to relax. My shoulders softened, my breath slowed down, and my mind became calm. I wasn't overthinking every word. I wasn't scared of making mistakes. I was just listening deeply, fully, honestly. And when I did speak, the words came out more naturally. At one point, Alex said, Learning English is like planting a seed. You water it every day, and one day it grows. His words touched me. I repeated them quietly in my head. Planting a seed, water every day, one day it grows.
Yes.
That was exactly how my English journey felt. After about 40 minutes, Lisa called everyone back to the big circle. She thanked us for participating and ended the session with a small message. Remember, friends, you don't learn English in one big jump. You learn it through small, brave moments, like coming here today. Her words felt like sunlight in my heart. As everyone stood up to leave, Emily walked beside me and said, You did great today. I smiled and said, Thank you. I was nervous at first. She replied, That's normal. I was nervous too before my first visit, but we get better together.
That
Simple sentence made me feel connected, supported, and hopeful. We walked outside into the cool evening air. The street lights were glowing softly. I thanked Emily again and began my walk home. My steps felt lighter. My heart felt stronger. And as I walked, I whispered to myself, I listened today. I learned today. I tried today. And that, my friend, is all any of us need to do. When I reached home that night, the sky was already dark and the stars were shining softly. My house felt quiet and peaceful when I opened the door. I took off my shoes slowly, placed my bag on the table, and sat down with a long breath. I could still feel the warm energy from the English meetup. My mind replayed the small conversations, the laughter, the kind voices, and the simple questions. I felt proud of myself, truly proud. I whispered softly, "Today was a good day, Sarah." I poured a glass of water and sat near the window. The street outside was calm. A few cars passed by, but everything else was still. I held the glass in my hands and closed my eyes. I thought about the first time I tried to speak English many years ago. I remembered how scared I used to feel. I remembered how fast everything sounded. But now, something was different. I wasn't perfect, not even close, but I could feel myself growing, step by step, moment by moment. And that small growth felt beautiful. After sitting quietly for a few minutes, I decided to listen to a short English audio to end my day. I chose something calm, a simple bedtime story with slow narration. The voice in the audio was gentle. It described a peaceful village, soft lights, and quiet sounds. I listened carefully, letting the words wash over me. I didn't try to understand everything. I just listened and relaxed. And listening like this made my heart feel soft and warm, like a comfortable blanket around my thoughts. When the audio finished, I opened my notebook again. I wrote 3 small things I learned today. The first thing I wrote was, "Listening is the first key to understanding." The second thing was, "Small conversations build confidence." And the third thing was, "I am stronger than my fear." I underlined the last sentence because it felt important. Sometimes we think fear is bigger than us. But when we take one small action, we realize the fear becomes smaller and we become bigger. I closed the notebook and looked around my room. My room wasn't perfect. My books were a little messy. My clothes were not folded properly. But tonight, everything felt okay. Everything felt gentle. Everything felt possible. And as I sat there, I thought about all the people in the world learning English. I imagine someone listening to this story right now, maybe you, sitting in your room, or on your bed, or at your table. And I felt connected to you, like we are learning together. I stretched my arms and decided to wash up before bed. The warm water on my hands felt soothing. I brushed my teeth slowly, thinking about words like routine, habit, and practice. These small words appeared many times today, and they made me understand something. Language learning is not magic. It is routine. It is habit. It is practice. And when you add these 3 things together, you move forward, even on days when you feel slow. After getting ready for bed, I turned off the lights except for one small lamp near my pillow. The soft glow filled the room with a quiet warmth. I sat on the bed and opened the library book again, the one titled Small Steps Every Day. I read one short page. It said, "Anna learned one new word today." She smiled because she knew one word was enough. When I read that line, I smiled too. Yes, one word is enough. One sentence is enough. One small moment is enough. We just need to keep going. I placed the book on the bedside table and lay down on the bed. I tucked myself under the blanket and stared at the ceiling. My mind slowly drifted back to the English meetup. I remembered how Emily had encouraged me. I remembered how Alex said that learning is like planting a seed. And I remembered how nervous I was at first. But now, lying in my bed, I felt peaceful. Not because everything was easy, but because I did not give up. Then another thought passed through my mind, something my grandmother used to say. She would often tell me, "Courage is not being without fear. Courage is walking with fear, but still moving forward. And tonight, I finally understood what she meant. I felt the fear. I felt the nerves. But I still spoke. I still listened. I still showed up. And that is what courage looks like. I whispered quietly to myself, I am learning. I am trying. I am improving. These simple sentences felt like a gentle hug to my heart. I turned off the lamp and closed my eyes. The room became dark, but my thoughts were bright. I breathed slowly and let my mind rest. And before I fell asleep, I said one last thing softly. Tomorrow, I will listen again. That night, I slept deeply, with a soft smile on my face, ready for a new day, ready for new English moments, ready for new steps in my journey. The next morning, I woke up with the soft light of the sun filling my room. The golden light touched my notebook on the table and made the pages look warm. I stretched my arms slowly and whispered to myself, another day, another chance to listen and learn. My heart felt calm, but also excited. Today, I decided, would be a listening day. A day to focus on hearing English in real life, slowly, naturally, without pressure. I made my warm tea and sat by the window. Outside, the world was waking up. Birds were singing, a few people were walking their dogs, and the morning breeze moved through the leaves. I turned on my phone and played a short English audio, a simple story about a girl who visits a park. The sentences were easy and the voice was calm. I listened carefully, letting the words come and go like soft waves. I didn't try to understand everything. I didn't pause the audio too much. I just let my ears feel the rhythm, the tone, the melody of English. And slowly, I realized that listening calmly felt wonderful. I whispered softly, I am listening. I am learning. After finishing the audio, I opened my notebook and wrote 3 simple sentences from the story. I read them aloud slowly. The girl walks in the park. She sees a dog. She smiles at the flowers. I repeated each sentence twice. Then I tried to say them a little faster. Not too fast. Just enough to feel the flow of real English. My mouth moved more easily than yesterday. My confidence felt soft but real. I decided to go outside for a short walk. The sun was warm, but the air was cool. I walked slowly, watching the small world around me. As I walked, I tried something new. I described everything I saw in English. The tree is tall. The car is red. The woman is smiling. At first, it felt strange. Talking to myself in English on the street felt unusual. But after a few minutes, it felt natural. My ears were open. My mind was active. My heart was calm. And that, I realized, was true listening practice. Noticing, naming, describing without fear. Halfway through my walk, I saw a small bookstore. The windows showed colorful books stacked neatly. I decided to go inside. The store was quiet and cozy, with a soft smell of paper and ink. I walked slowly, looking at the shelves. I could hear a soft voice from a corner of the store. Another customer was reading aloud quietly to himself in English. His voice was gentle and slow. I stopped to listen. I like this story, he said softly. Then, the boy is happy today. Simple sentences, but real English in real life. I whispered softly to myself, this is how English sounds natural, calm, real. I picked up a small storybook for beginners and sat near the window. I read the first page slowly. Anna wakes up early. She drinks water. She goes to the park. I repeated each sentence aloud, soft but clear. Then I read the next page. She sees a bird. She hears a song. She feels happy. I smiled. The sentences were short, the words were simple, but each sentence helped me feel more comfortable listening and speaking. I realized something important. English does not have to be complicated. English can be small, calm, daily moments. After reading for a few minutes, I walked to the cashier and paid for the book. "Thank you," I said clearly. The cashier smiled and said, "You're welcome." I repeated it softly, "You're welcome." Another small moment of speaking. Another small moment of confidence. I left the bookstore with a new book in my hand, feeling light and happy. As I walked home, I listened to soft English music in my headphones. The lyrics were slow and simple. I tried to catch each word. Sometimes I understood. Sometimes I didn't. But I didn't worry. I just listened. I repeated a few lines softly to myself. I am happy today. I walk and I smile. I see the sun and feel calm. The sentences felt like gentle friends walking beside me. When I reached home, I put my bag down and sat by the window again. I opened the new storybook and read it slowly. I repeated the sentences aloud. I noticed words that were new to me and wrote them in my notebook. Early, bird, song, calm. I read each word aloud 3 times and whispered, "I will remember. I will practice. I will use this word." Small steps, every day, were slowly building my English listening and speaking skills. Before preparing dinner, I decided to review everything I had listened to today. I played the morning audio again. I read aloud the sentences from the bookstore story. I repeated the lyrics of the song. And each time, I felt my ears and mouth working together. I felt my mind relaxing. I felt English becoming a gentle part of my day. After dinner, I sat on the sofa with my notebook. I wrote a small reflection. Today I listened everywhere, on the street, in the bookstore, at home. I spoke softly. I repeated new words. I felt calm. I am growing. I closed my notebook and smiled. Every word, every sentence, every small moment mattered. Each moment was a step forward. Before bed, I turned off the lights except for the soft glow of the bedside lamp. I held my notebook close and whispered, "Thank you for today. Thank you for helping me learn." I lay down under the blanket and let the day rest in my mind. Slowly, softly, I fell asleep, ready for another calm, listening, learning day tomorrow. The next morning, I woke up to a quiet, peaceful room. The sun was just beginning to rise, filling my room with soft light. I stretched my arms slowly and whispered to myself, "A new day, a new chance to listen." I felt calm, but excited. Today, I wanted to focus on listening carefully, in small moments, in everyday life, without pressure. I knew that the more I listened, the more I would understand. I made myself a cup of warm tea and sat by the window. Outside, the birds were singing and people were walking to work or school. I could hear the soft hum of the city waking up. I put on my earphones and played a simple English podcast, a short story about a girl walking in a garden. The sentences were slow, clear, and easy. I listened carefully, and repeated softly after the speaker. The girl sees a flower. She smells the flower. She feels happy. Repeating the sentences softly helped me feel more confident. After finishing the podcast, I decided to go for a short walk. I walked slowly, noticing small things around me. I described everything in English quietly to myself. The tree is tall. The car is red. The sky is blue. At first, it felt unusual to speak to myself, but soon it felt natural. It was a small, simple way to practice English while moving through my day. Listening and speaking were starting to feel connected. Halfway through my walk, I passed a small cafe. People were chatting inside, and some were speaking English softly. I stopped near the window and listened. One person said, "I will have a coffee, please." Another said, "Do you want some cake?"
Simple.
Sentences, but real English in real life. I whispered softly, "This is real English, calm, clear, natural." Then I continued walking, repeating the sentences quietly to myself. "I will have a coffee. Do you want some cake?" Later, I reached a small park. Children were playing and laughing. An older man was sitting on a bench reading aloud from a book in English. His voice was soft and gentle. I stopped to listen. The boy runs to the tree. He climbs slowly. He looks at the sky. I repeated the sentences quietly to myself. Listening to him made me feel calm and focused. I realized that real English happens in simple, everyday moments. It is not always in classrooms or books. It is everywhere. After a few minutes in the park, I continued walking home. I noticed more small things. A dog wagging its tail, a woman carrying groceries, the soft sound of the wind through the trees. I described each thing in English. The dog is happy. The woman walks slowly. The wind is soft. Speaking softly to myself helped me remember new words. It also made me feel connected to the world around me. When I reached home, I opened my notebook. I wrote down the new words I heard today: flower, garden, climb, wind, tail. I read each word aloud 3 times and whispered, "I will remember. I will use this word. I will practice." Then I reviewed yesterday's words again. I felt proud. Every small word, every short sentence was helping me improve. Learning English slowly, day by day, was working. In the afternoon, I played another English audio, this time a short conversation about daily routines. I listened carefully, paused, and repeated some sentences softly. I wake up at 7. I drink tea. I go to work. Repeating after the speaker was becoming easier. My voice felt more natural. My mind felt calm. Listening carefully, speaking softly, and repeating words, these small steps were slowly building my confidence. Later in the evening, I walked outside again for a short time. The sky was turning orange, soft and calm. I listened to English from a distance, someone speaking on the phone, a shopkeeper saying, "Have a good day." I repeated the phrases quietly to myself. Have a good day. Real English everywhere, simple, calm, easy to catch if I just listened. When I came home, I wrote a small reflection in my notebook. Today I listened carefully. I repeated sentences. I noticed new words. I felt calm and happy. Small steps every day help me grow. I closed my notebook and smiled. Each small moment of listening, each short sentence repeated, each word remembered, All of these small actions were helping me improve naturally. And that, I realized, was the real magic of learning English. Consistency, patience, and calm listening. Before going to bed, I turned on a soft lamp, opened my new storybook, and read one short page. I read slowly and softly repeated each sentence aloud. Anna walks slowly. She sees the flowers. She smiles. The sentences felt calm and comforting. I felt peaceful. I placed the book on my bedside table, tucked myself under the blanket, and whispered softly, "Tomorrow, I will listen again. I will practice again. I will grow again." And with that thought, I slowly closed my eyes and drifted into a calm sleep. The next morning, I woke up feeling refreshed. The soft sunlight was shining through my window, and the room felt warm. I took a deep breath and whispered, "Today is another chance to listen and speak English." My heart felt calm, but also a little excited. I knew that today, I wanted to focus on conversations, small, everyday conversations, the kind I might hear or say in real life. I made a cup of warm tea and sat by the window. Outside, people were walking, birds were singing, and the city was slowly waking up. I turned on a short English audio, a simple conversation between two friends about breakfast. One said, "Good morning. Did you sleep well?" The other said, "Yes, thank you. Did you?" I listened carefully, repeating each sentence softly after the speaker. "Good morning. Did you sleep well?" "Yes, thank you. Did you?" Repeating the sentences slowly helped me feel more confident speaking. After finishing the audio, I decided to take a short walk. I wanted to practice listening to real English outside. As I walked, I described everything quietly in English. The sun is bright. The car is blue. The boy is running. At first, it felt strange to speak quietly to myself, but soon it felt natural. Speaking and listening at the same time was helping my ears and mouth work together. Halfway through my walk, I passed a small cafe. I heard a man at the counter say, "I'll have a coffee, please." A woman replied, "Do you want a croissant?" I whispered softly to myself, repeating their words, "I'll have a coffee, please. Do you want a croissant?" These small moments of listening in real life were teaching me English in a natural way. Real English, I realized, is often short, clear, and kind. I continued walking to the park nearby. Children were playing, and a woman was reading aloud softly in English to her child. I stopped for a moment to listen. She said, "Look at the bird. The bird is flying.
Can you see it?"
I repeated the sentences quietly to myself. "Look at the bird. The bird is flying.
Can you see it?"
Listening like this felt peaceful. I was learning without stress, slowly, gently, naturally. After a few minutes in the park, I walked to the library. I loved the library because it was quiet, calm, and full of English resources. I picked up my beginner storybook and read a few pages. The sentences were short and easy. Anna drinks water.
She walks to the park.
She sees a flower. I read each sentence slowly, repeating it softly. Reading aloud and listening at the same time was becoming easier every day. When I finished reading, I walked back home. On the way, I practiced small conversations quietly to myself. "Good morning," I said softly to a neighbor. "Hello, how are you?" I repeated what I imagined she might say. "I am fine. Thank you." "And you?" These small practice moments help me feel ready for real conversations. At home, I opened my notebook and wrote down all the new words and sentences I had learned today. Sleep, croissant, bird, flying, fine neighbor. I read each word aloud 3 times and repeated the short sentences. Slowly, I began to notice something wonderful. English was becoming easier to hear, easier to speak, and more natural in my mind. In the evening, I turned on a short English audio story again. This time, it was a conversation between 2 friends planning a small picnic. One said, "Do you want to go to the park?" The other said, "Yes, let's go. I will bring sandwiches." I listened carefully and repeated the sentences aloud softly. Each sentence felt familiar now. Each sentence felt possible to say in real life. Before going to bed, I reflected on my day. I wrote in my notebook. I listened carefully today. I spoke softly. I noticed new words. I felt calm. Small conversations helped me grow. I smiled. Even small moments of listening and speaking, repeated every day, were helping me improve naturally. English was becoming part of my daily life. I turned off the main light and left a soft lamp on. I picked up my storybook and read one short page aloud slowly. Anna smiles at the sun. She sees a bird. She feels happy. I repeated the sentences softly. The words felt like gentle friends guiding me. I placed the book on the bedside table, tucked myself under the blanket, and whispered softly, "Tomorrow I will listen, speak, and learn again." And with that thought, I slowly closed my eyes and fell into a calm sleep. The next morning, I woke up to the soft light of the sun again. My room felt warm and peaceful. I stretched my arms slowly and whispered, "Another day to listen, another day to practice." I felt calm, but also excited. Today, I wanted to focus on real conversations and understanding English in everyday situations. I knew that listening carefully and speaking slowly would help me improve naturally. I made myself a cup of warm tea and sat by the window. Outside, the birds were singing and people were walking to work or school. The morning felt soft and gentle. I turned on a short English audio, a story about a girl visiting a market. The speaker spoke slowly, clearly, and naturally. I listened carefully and repeated softly after the speaker. The girl goes to the market. She sees a fruit stall. She buys an apple. Repeating these sentences quietly helped me feel more confident. After finishing the audio, I decided to go for a short walk. As I walked, I described small things around me in English. The sky is blue. The car is fast. The woman is smiling. At first, it felt strange to speak quietly to myself, but soon it felt natural. Speaking and listening at the same time was helping me learn without stress. Every word I said softly helped my brain and ears work together. Halfway through my walk, I saw a small cafe. Inside, a man said, "Good morning. What would you like to drink?" A woman replied, "I will have tea, please." I whispered softly to myself, repeating their words. "Good morning. What would you like to drink?" "I will have tea, please." Listening to real English in real life was helping me connect words and sentences naturally. I could feel my confidence growing little by little. I continued to the park. Children were laughing and playing. An older man was sitting on a bench reading aloud from a book in English. The boy runs to the tree. He climbs slowly. He looks at the sky. I repeated the sentences quietly to myself. The boy runs to the tree. He climbs slowly. He looks at the sky. Listening to real English in everyday life made me feel calm and focused. I realized that English is not always complicated. English can be simple, short, and real. After spending a few minutes in the park, I walked home. On the way, I practiced small conversations quietly to myself. Good morning. How are you? I am fine, thank you. And you? Speaking softly and listening carefully helped me feel ready for real conversations. Even small moments like these were important steps in learning English. When I reached home, I opened my notebook and wrote down all the new words and sentences I had learned today. Market, stall, apple, climb, fine, hello. I read each word aloud 3 times and repeated the short sentences. Slowly, I felt my listening and speaking skills improving. English was becoming part of my daily life, step by step, moment by moment. In the evening, I played a short English conversation audio again. This time, it was about 2 friends talking about their day. Did you enjoy your morning? One asked. The other replied, Yes, I walked in the park. It was peaceful. I listened carefully and repeated the sentences softly. Did you enjoy your morning? Yes, I walked in the park. It was peaceful. The words felt familiar now. They felt possible to use in real life. Before going to bed, I reflected on the day and wrote in my notebook. I listened carefully today. I spoke softly. I noticed new words. I felt calm. Small conversations every day helped me grow. I smiled. Even small moments of listening and speaking, repeated daily, were helping me improve naturally. I felt proud of the little steps I had taken. I turned off the main light and left a soft lamp on. I picked up my storybook and read one short page aloud slowly. Anna walks slowly. She sees the flowers. She smiles. I repeated the sentences softly. The words felt calm and friendly. I placed the book on the bedside table, tucked myself under the blanket, and whispered softly, Tomorrow I will listen, speak, and learn again. And with that thought, I slowly closed my eyes and drifted into a peaceful sleep. The next morning, I woke up feeling calm and happy. The soft sunlight filled my room, and I stretched my arms slowly. I whispered to myself, Today is another day to listen, to speak, and to grow. I realized something important. English is not just words, not just sentences. English is small moments, small steps, and small actions every day. It is listening carefully, speaking slowly, and practicing with patience. And now, after many days of little steps, I could feel the change in myself. I made a cup of warm tea and sat by the window. Outside, the birds were singing, the trees were moving gently in the breeze, and the street was waking up. I thought about all the days I had spent practicing English, listening to audios, repeating words, reading storybooks, talking to people, and even whispering sentences to myself while walking. Each small action had added up. Each small moment had made me stronger and more confident. I smiled softly and whispered, All these small steps matter. They really do. I opened my notebook and reviewed all the words and sentences I had learned. I saw simple sentences like, The girl sees a flower. I will have tea, please. And good morning. How are you? I repeated them softly aloud. The sentences no longer felt difficult. They felt natural. They felt like real English. And in that moment, I understood the most important lesson. Learning English is not about being perfect. It is about showing up, listening, practicing, and trying every day, one small step at a time. I looked out the window and noticed the world around me. A child was laughing as she played with her dog. A woman was walking slowly, carrying groceries. A man was talking softly on his phone. Everywhere, I could see little English moments, phrases, sentences, and conversations happening naturally. And I realized that English is not only in classrooms or books. English is in life. English is in the streets, in the parks, in cafes, and in the soft moments of daily life. And if we open our ears, we can hear it, understand it, and even join it. Before preparing for the day, I read a few pages from my storybook aloud. I repeated the sentences softly, letting the words settle in my mind. Anna smiles at the sun. She walks slowly. She sees the flowers. I repeated each sentence twice. Slowly, my confidence grew. Slowly, English became a calm and friendly part of my day. I realized that all the little actions, listening, speaking softly, repeating, noticing, and writing new words, had built something bigger. Progress. As I got ready for the day, I whispered to myself, I am learning. I am improving. I am growing. And I want you, my friend, to remember this too. Learning English is not about rushing. It is not about being perfect. It is about showing up every day, listening carefully, speaking gently, practicing small steps, and being kind to yourself. Every little action matters. Every small step takes you forward. And slowly, naturally, you will find yourself speaking, understanding, and thinking in English with confidence. Before I left the house, I took one last moment to reflect quietly. I thought about the cafe, the park, the library, the English meetup, and all the small conversations I had. I remembered feeling nervous at first, but now I felt calm. I realized that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is taking small steps, even when you are nervous. Courage is listening, practicing, and trying every day. And that, I realized, is the real magic of learning English. I smiled, took a deep breath, and whispered softly, tomorrow, I will listen again. I will speak again. I will take another small step. And with that thought, I stepped outside into the world, ready to discover more English moments, ready to learn naturally, and ready to grow every single day.